correct perception of the absolute truth, and thus liberation from all suffering. Materialistic persons, however, utilize their wealth simply for the advancement of their family situation. They fail to see the insurmountable death. That insurmountable death will soon destroy the frail material body. The purport says, these things that come under the control of the proprietor are called the dunam, or wealth. When a foolish person becomes addicted to spending all of his hard-earned money to increase the prestige of his material body and family, he is no longer able to see how death is steadily approaching his own body, as well as the temporary bodies of his family and friends. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. The Supreme Lord appears as all-powerful death, which destroys all material situations. Actually, even in family life, one should use one's wealth for spiritual advancement of oneself and one's family. In the Krishna consciousness movement, there are many religious householders who live a simple, peaceful life and use their wealth for arranging Krishna conscious activities at home and for helping the renounced brahmacharis and sannyasis who are actively preaching Krishna consciousness in public places. Such householders, even those who are not able to dedicate 100% of their energy to Krishna consciousness, gradually acquire a very solid understanding of the spiritual principles of life and eventually become transcendentalists firmly fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. Thus they free themselves from all the anxieties of conditional life, namely birth, old age, disease, and death. Life without Krishna consciousness is actually poverty, but the poverty-stricken materialist whose intelligence is limited cannot perceive that real wealth is the expansion of consciousness up to the highest level of Krishna consciousness, love of Godhead. Such persons raise their children to be just like animals, having as their only goal false prestige and material sense gratification. Such materialistic householders fear that excessive interest in spiritual life may damage the ambition of their children to acquire false material prestige. Actually, death will smash all of the endeavors and plans of such spiritually impoverished materialists. If family life and wealth are used for Krishna consciousness, one will learn to discriminate between the eternal and the non-eternal, between spirit and matter, between bliss and anxiety, and thus the living entity will become liberated and go beyond a mere theoretical knowledge to acquire the highest perfectional benediction of eternal Krishna conscious life. Limited sensory knowledge, pratyaksha jnana, is useless without theoretical spiritual knowledge, paroksha jnana, which gradually matures with careful cultivation into direct realized knowledge of the soul of paroksha jnana. The word anuprashanti in this verse indicates that by spiritual knowledge, jnanam, one achieves the most sublime state of eternal peace and bliss, far beyond the dreams of the materialistic conditioned soul. One thing that I've noticed immediately in reading this purport is I believe it kind of dates itself, because within the history of ISKCON, there's been a changing view of family life and renunciation. In the very early days, Srila Prabhupada's disciples were almost all married. And there was a point where he was saying that his spiritual master created brahmacharis and sannyasis, and he creates grihasthas. And he was much impressed by, there was, the three couples that went to London and started the Krishna consciousness movement there. And so he was really saying how his grihastha disciples could handle everything. And then as things went on, devotees are oftentimes, we have high ideals, but we're human, and so we always haven't lived up to the high standards, and so some of the marriages were breaking up and different things were happening like that, and Prabhupada was he stopped performing marriage ceremonies and things, and so gradually it kind of shifted the other way. My spiritual master said when he joined, if you wanted to remain a brahmachari, people would tell you that you shouldn't do that. You should get married. Prabhupada wants grihasthas, and he said if you tried to counter that and say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of course, even Prabhupada through most of his life was a grihastha, they would say, "Can you be a grihastha like Bhaktivinoda Thakur?" And then later on, it seemed that the difference between brahmacharis and sannyasis and grihastas was so vast, as it kind of seems to indicate here. Gradually, they may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. That the opposite would be true. If you wanted to get married, uh, they would tell you that that you can't make advancement that way, and yeah, that if you or actually, no, I'm sorry. What happened at first when if you wanted to stay brahmachari, you'd say, well, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was a brahmachari, right? And then they say, can you be a brahmachari like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? And then the opposite occurred later on. If you wanted to get married, right? That they said, well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was married, but can you be a grihastha like Bhaktivinoda Thakur? So instead you have to take sannyas or stay a brahmachari. And there actually there was a whole thing that Prabhupada came to call the fratricidal war, where there was the traveling Radha Damodar traveling party who was trying to recruit all of the devotees from the temples because they were moving so quickly, it was hard for them to really cultivate new members, and so most of the temple presidents were grihastas, and so they were saying that that you're going to, if you follow them, you're going to go down the dark well of, of material existence that's represented by grihastha life, and so you need to come up with us. So there's a little bit of, I think, of that mood there here in this purport. What the overriding thing here, though, is is the notion that Krishna consciousness is in pursuit of this very rarefied goal. Because generally like if you read the Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters, Prabhupada says are like a series of yogas, and you see, okay, here it says if you first understand this first thing in Bhagavad Gita is Sankhya, where you understand that there's things that are eternal and things that are temporary, right? And it's supposed to give you a little bit of a different idea of life, and the first type of yoga is called karma, where you get the material things that you desire, right? Because in general, if humans are left alone, they will get what they and especially if they think that there's only one life. But this is the Charvak Muni understanding that by hook or by crook you get whatever you get, and if you die and there's no afterlife, right? The thieves, the debtors, the procrastinators, they win, right? Because there's no consequence for their actions. And so you get whatever you can by hook or by crook. And so when there's introduced the notion of consequences, then there's karma, which says, okay, you want material things, but you need to act in the appropriate way. You follow the rules of dharma, which build character in you and make the rest of the world and benefit the rest of the world too. It's a harmonious way of living, and in that way you not only get more good things, but you avoid the negative karma. And so that's the first inducement, to have people kind of come into line a little bit and be a little bit structured. And so there's something that's a little bait that's put in front of them to lure them to try to change their ways, to become responsible and act with some integrity, and to have some patience, right? So with karma, you have to wait for the result, right? So you build some character. So there's an inducement to do that. Okay. Then it goes deeper into karma yoga, where it says, look, there's actually a higher type of happiness, right? Which comes from the motive of goodness. Right now, we're thinking of happiness as something that's coming to us from the outside, and by acquiring things that we can do that. But then there's an internal happiness of the soul that comes increasingly palpable through the mode of goodness. And so the next thing is karma yoga, especially the nishkama karma yoga. So first of all, there's some karma yoga where you recognize that there's God there, But then there's the nishkama karma yoga, where you instead of you act in the right way, you do what the rules and regulations say for your station in the world. But instead of doing it because you're going to receive some material benefit and avoid some material discomfort, you do it just because it's the right thing to do, right? That having this character, acting with integrity, having a certain amount of character is beneficial in itself. And when you take away that material inducement, this puts you closer to the mode of goodness, right? Because otherwise you're doing it for this other reason. But now I see the value in it, that the Dharma that's given by the Lord is beneficial in a broader sense, right? And it's only after that that one can begin then to renounce the world in a genuine way. Krishna, mentions that in the third chapter. He says that some people will try to renounce, but then their mind is still captivated by the things they're trying to renounce. And so by coming to the higher mode of goodness, you can do that. And so then you can begin to withdraw a little bit from the world. And if that happens in a powerful way, then you can go to the sixth chapter of the Gita, where there's the Astanga Yoga process, which happens in a very powerful way, where you ultimately withdraw your attention from everything material. And it requires intense control of the mind. And then this can lead you to actual transcendence. Here in this particular day and age, and so we in our lineage now, we have this opportunity, right, to have this Krishna prema and go to this higher dimensional reality, this spiritual reality, which is far and above any other potential goal. And it's interesting, right? And there's a clear difference here. I think that we need to understand both things, both the rarity of the opportunity and the way it comes to us. Okay, so in the other types of dharma, you have inducements, and then you come up to that standard. Right, you have an inducement, you want material things, okay, you have to act in an appropriate way, you have to have a little more self-control, you have to do this, you have to act with integrity. But then you have to come where you change your motivation, for nishkama karma yoga, for renunciation, you have to use your wisdom to pull back from the world, right? And then with the yoga, you eventually have to train yourself to just withdraw your attention from everything. And so you're given a sadhana, you're given a practice, you're given a template, and then you accomplish it. Right? You accomplish it. And you get credit for that because you accomplished it. You are the primary factor in your success. This is a guide, these are guidelines that are given to you, and you accomplished them. Okay? So in bhakti, the rewards are much greater. And so you think then, well, then our accomplishment is much greater. But we have this interesting situation here that at the time when especially this particularly rarefied type of bhakti in the mood of Krishna in Vrindavan is available to us, we are particularly incapable of accomplishing things by ourselves. Right? It says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that ours, of all the countless numbers of universes existing at this time, ours is the smallest and the most pedestrian, the least wonderful and amazing, and therefore of all human beings, right, in all the universes, we're of the lowest quality. And on top of that, we're here in a particular age of Kali, where the human beings in this most pedestrian of planets are the most helpless and the least capable of all. And so somehow then we are given this goal, this prayojana, which is the most rarefied, which is the most the least often available, and which takes the biggest transformation. So how does that happen? Right? How do the most incapable people manage to reach the highest goal? And the answer to that is that we see that Krishna has come in the previous age. He looks down and he sees that even though he revealed so many wonderful things, that people haven't been particularly captivated by that and interested in that because of their quality. And so there's really no chance of us carrying ourselves from here to there. We cannot go from down here to up there through our own power. And so, in fact, we can't even do the other dharmas, most likely. We can't even, we have self-control even to do karma. Can we really behave properly? Most of us. So we don't even have the qualification for even the lower dharmas. So what happens is that Krishna, out of his abundant grace and concern and care and love for all beings, brings that whole reality down to us. We can't go there. We can't get there from here, but he brings it down here to us. And he does that. He gives it to us fully. Right? Often, we may have, at least soon in our connection with Krishna consciousness, we will be told about the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is the scriptures say is Krishna himself. The name and the named are not two different things. So the first thing that Krishna does to us is not give us a program, does not give us a template. Here, do this and achieve this. But first he says, here, take me. I'm yours. And he's doing that because he knows and understands our helplessness and our lack of any qualification. This is our lack of qualification is glorified in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're always disturbed. We have short lives where everything is bad about us. It's our disqualification is glorified in the Bhagavatam because that glorifies the power of Krishna's grace. And we're completely incompetent beings become something lovers of Krishna that have Krishna prema, right? That's a miracle. So that glorifies not us, but it glorifies the power of Krishna's grace. And so, because we are used to, having to have a program for achievement, and because we're used to having to do everything ourselves, that mentality kind of comes with us when we go on to any type of spiritual path. And so sometimes we'll think that that Krishna's grace is a one-time thing to get us started. Hi, I'm here, I'm Krishna. Here's the program, follow the program and go back to Godhead. Or sometimes we may need a little bit of help as we're motoring our way along back to Godhead. We might need a hand. So Krishna may lend a hand once in a while. Those thoughts, however, are contradicted by our complete lack of qualification. So we need much more than an initial, hey, here's what you should do, or here I'll help you once in a while when you need it. Ours is fully the path of grace. It's fully the path of grace. And so we have sadhana, right? We have sadhana and a practice. But the important distinction, I think, is that there's between us, doing the sadhana and making it happen, and the path of grace is how we approach that. There's the internal component that makes all the difference. If you look at the Lord Chaitanya Shikshashtaka, the third verse, says that we become, feel lower than the grass, more tolerant than the tree. We become, we don't need any recognition or praise for ourselves, and yet we praise others. It's a gentle path. It's not. It's a path of my spiritual master calls it the path of littleness, rather than the path of bigness. And those are the qualities that allow us to receive the grace. So for us, the practice, these are ways at which we can receive Krishna's grace. We can interface with Krishna's grace. And I guess we'll take a little bit. We got very limited time, but it's how you can recognize the difference. Right? Am I opening myself for grace, presenting myself for grace, or am I in the achieving, deserving, pushing this matter forward under my own power? Again, who gets the credit? right? This is the first thing. So what it really is the weakening of our ego, right? And ego doesn't just mean, pride. It means also low self-esteem. And it also just means, even more importantly, who gets credit for things, right? In the Gita, it says that, the ahankara, right, makes you foolish because it thinks that you're the doer. Hankara vimudatma kartaham itima. I'm doing it. And this is even is operative in material things, right? Because even if we do something, we do something extraordinary with our bodies and minds. Who gave us those body and mind? Right? This is equipment given to us by Krishna, right? So we're not independently doing anything really, even if we're doing these other dharmas. So that's why he tells Arjuna, he says, you have a right to do your duty, but you don't actually have a right for the results. Because everything is given to you otherwise too. The world is given to you, your body is given to you. You're not independently doing this stuff. You have help. So what to speak of spiritual things and huge transformations, right? And so what happens is where does the credit go, right? Do we give Krishna some credit for the mercy that gave us the tools, and then we get the credit for how we use them? That's kind of disproportionately us doing it, or is our practice, it's more Krishna's grace and us, just putting ourselves more in line with the grace. Like, a simple example is, you say you start your own business, right? And you work very hard, and it's a good concept, and eventually you make lots and lots and lots of money, right? So, you did that. You're pretty, I mean, you get some credit for that. That's how you got the money. It was primarily your thoughts and ideas. And what happens if you're walking down the street and somebody hands you, $1 billion? I mean, you reached out and grabbed it, right? So you participated, right? You could have walked by and refused, right? But who gets the credit? It was the kind person that gave you the money. And so bhakti, especially the path we have, is a lot more like that, right? And how can we tell, okay, whether our practice is more, we're thinking that I'm the one who's doing it, I'm the one who's deserving the result, I'm the one that's kind of making it happen, and whether, as opposed to that the practice the practice is connecting me with Krishna, and Krishna is doing all the heavy lifting. And I think you can tell that by, of course, who's getting the credit, where you're. Let's take a look simply at the holy name, okay? Because if we're thinking that it's our dedication and our devotion and our concentration and our determination that's infusing the holy name with power, right? It's the holy name is a tool. We use it, but because I'm very devoted and I'm very, focused and all this kind of stuff, that I'm going to get the result, right? Or is it, right, on the other hand, that it's I'm fortunate to be able to chant, and it's not my chanting that's infusing the power, but it's my being in the presence of Krishna that's allowing things to happen. So and one of them, when we're really focused on how well we're doing it. Now we have to do it. We have to sit. It's good if we can be, somewhat attentive. That's all right. But if we think that we're doing it, right, then we're meditating. What we're doing is we're meditating first on our own devotion. We're meditating on our own concentration, on our own our own determination. That becomes our meditation while we're chanting, right? And guess what? That isn't that interesting. We can plumb the depths and the heights of our own devotion quite quickly. Right? We really can. We can go over the things that credit us quite quickly, and then our mind wanders. Right? It's over. But what if we're thinking of of the mind-blowing grace that is the holy name, that has come to us, Goloka Premadana, coming down from Goloka. It says as a gift, right? Danam, it says, right? Like it says in the purport. It's a gift from Goloka. It's come to us that way. It's unbelievably precious. We cannot activate it. We cannot do anything to it. It activates us. And we contemplate that, the meaning of that kind of profound grace, that we can keep our mind on forever. And so if we feel that, so there's a difference. Are we putting ourselves in the place to receive grace? And it doesn't take that much to do that. Chant Hare Krishna, be in contact with the Yangas of Bhakti. Or are we are we the ones who are deserving credit for the advancement that we're making? And you can feel that because if we feel that we are the ones pushing it forward, we're going to be in some level of anxiety and fear. And we're always afraid that something may disturb us, right? And so there's a certain tension there, and we will feel a little disconnected from the world around us and the people around us because are we behaving correctly? We have to control our minds, we have to control our bodies, we have to do the right thing, we have to be very careful, and things may disturb us. And so we will feel a little disconnected. Are we clinging to the, it's beautiful when we have the higher taste and the bliss, but are we trying to stay within that and worry that something may break that? We feel more isolated. Or if we feel that we've received grace, that grace is abundantly available, that it's around us, because everything is Krishna, right? Then we will feel less tense. We will feel more connected with the world around us, the people around us. And we will feel more confident, right? Because it's not our own power that's doing this, but it's ultimately Krishna's grace that's making the transformation. We will be more open, we will be more relaxed, we will be more peaceful. It's a different feeling, a deeper connection. We should be feeling more, we're afraid now of the world because it may distract us in these things. Right? But if we want the whole idea with Krishna in his life is he wants human connections. Right? So we need to be connected. And so if we are becoming more grateful receivers of grace, we will feel more secure. We will feel more protected. We will feel it's like there's so much less of a burden on us. We're here to do the impossible, right? And so we become smaller. It's the path of littleness, not the path of greatness. So who are we giving credit? Who do we think is moving forward the process? And do we feel stiff? Do we feel like I'm clinging on, trying to make it happen? Or when I do feel this higher taste, do I realize that this is Krishna's power, that's transforming me and allowing me to transform further? And that makes us feel so much more secure and peaceful. Okay, so we're at the limit of my time. Thank you so much. Let's see, I hear your comments and questions.
Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. You made a hard stop, and looks like we need some time to come up with an intelligent question. But thank you for class. It was great. Okay, temple room personified, Janitai Prabhu. Would you like to reflect?
Hare Krishna, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, my obeisances to
Hare
you.
Krishna.
I always relish your classes. They're always so deep and introspective, and obviously very well read. And yeah, I just somehow I keep reflecting back to the opening statement of the different phases that we've gone through within ISKCON and the initial stage. And it was interesting to hear that initial stage that Prabhupada was really promoting and encouraging the Grihastha ashram, and then later it became more like focus on the renunciation aspect or sannyas ashram like that. Just wondering if you could maybe expand a little bit on that, as I think probably most of the people on this call are more in the Grihastha ashram. So if you could just expand a little bit maybe on where we're at and how we ourselves as Grihastas can commit as fully as possible to the mission and give ourselves in the service of Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON like that.
Yeah, I guess a couple of things, I'll say that at one point, my spiritual master is a grihastha. And so at one point, some of the sannyasis were encouraging him to take sannyas. And because renunciation is also an internal thing, it's not always an external thing. And what he said to them is that he says, no, I think I would like to stay renounced. Right? Because when you are, quote, renounced, sometimes you don't have so many responsibilities. Right? Like one thing that can happen, like if the brahmachari life in one sense also is very simple. Right? If you may be living in the community and that they provide for your needs basically, and it's simple, right? So if you're looking for something more, it may not be so great for you, but it's simple, and you have the capacity to just be focused on you and your spiritual life, right? And so bhakti is all about connection. And so in some ways, for some people that may be fine. And like His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami would say that sannyas allows you to love more widely. Right. And so that's real renunciation. Right. You're able to share. But sometimes renunciation means that you don't have to love anybody except you. Right. And so when you move from, some people may move from the brahmacharya ashram to the grihastha ashram, and for the first time in their life, they have to really be concerned about others. Right. And that's a step up. That's definitely a step up. And so there's pitfalls to the respect and the honor, because oh my God, is that seductive? That you get when you're renounced, and people presume that you're at a particular level and that kind of stuff. If you are at a situation where you can love more widely and give and do that kind of stuff, that's beautiful. But we also we grow in an organic way. As soon as we try to be more than we are, we become artificial. It actually disconnects us from grace and ourselves and causes us a trouble. So there's no reason why we can't be connected with grace in whatever ashram we are. And you see people in all ashrams who may be more connected and less connected. So it's something that has to be done with some care. But I don't think to have this, here's the hierarchy is not necessarily always true.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Beautiful. And I love that too. Real renunciation or sannyas means to be able to love more widely. That's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Karen?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful class. And I hate to be always be the one who's asking these kinds of questions, but I just wanted to kind of reflect and ask about how to kind of see how, as women, we can take some of these same teachings and apply them in the sense that we have a lot of the language and the concepts are coming from like a male experience, and while we have a kind of blanket prescription for all of it, we don't necessarily have the same experiences that we're bringing to. And so some of the things like, the phrase where it says, one should always consider themselves to be worthless, destitute, lower, and more humble than a blade of grass. I I remember in another class, like asking about how that is a very comfortable position for women to take, you know, because having been taught from an early age that, you know, you're not really the ones that get to brag about your abilities and your achievements, and your body even is actually programmed to do selfless service, and you're kind of in this mode of serving other people from a very early age. Just, I mean, it's just in a general sense of women across the planet, really. But how we can see that these concepts are meant to see that we're aligned with, that we have this sort of divinity within us that we can have. I'm sorry, I'm not very, really very articulate. That we can remember that we have divinity within us, while also that's what's working through us. Because even, you know, if you look at even wealthy women, like people, when you're aspiring for wealth, generally, like the women who are very successful and wealthy are often, their mode to even attain that wealth is different. It's like to be, you know, there's philanthropic tendencies, and, you know, just to kind of give that away. And I'm not sure if I've been really concise in my question, but maybe you understand the kind of sentiment.
Yeah, I think so.
Hare
I
Krishna.
think I got, and yeah, so it's good that keep asking me, glad you're the one that asks questions like that. And so I guess the thing that's important here, and so first of all, then in one sense, you know, there may be some advantages, right, for women to be able to deal with the bhakti path, but I think there's also some misunderstandings there. It's that bhakti doesn't mean that that you're lesser in some ways, or that somehow by constitution we become, you know, the one who cares for others and serves. But it really the humility and that's talked about in the Shikshastakam is not that we are either lower or that our role is so different, but really that we're so fortunate. All of us are completely fortunate. And there's pride and low self-esteem, and so, you know, yeah, males in particular, right, are looking for distinction and competition and trying to rise up, and so there's pride there, and then there's a kind of humility maybe that women are put into, or maybe have some predilection for, to be the caregivers and servers and this kind of stuff, and which is, you know, different. But also it can make them feel like they're, you know, second-class citizens, you know. But the humility that's there and the service that's talked about is a reciprocation. So oftentimes, you know, if you're a mother, you're, you know, giving for your child, and it's beginning for you. But the first thing that happens in bhakti is that Krishna comes to us unbidden and says, "Look, here I am. I care for you. Right? He's the Suhridam Sarvadeham, the well-wisher of everybody. Here I am appearing before you in the form of the name. And this Hare Krishna mantra can transform you into, you know, someone who has Krishna prema, this highest goal. It will transform you. And so what we are, when it says that we're humble or we feel lower, it means that we're humbled by the gift that we've been given. And the bhakti that we do happens a little bit slowly, but it begins to be a reaction of gratitude that we need to do. We can't ever repay Krishna for what he has given us, even at this point right now. So much grace. In one sense, we've been given the whole mercy just by the holy name. And so there's no way ever that we can reciprocate with that in any kind of full way. And so that's what makes us be humbled and grateful. And then our service, our selfless service is coming out of that gratitude. I need to do something for Krishna. See? So it's a little bit different mentality. So maybe women can, Prabhupada would say sometimes that women have an advantage in bhakti because they have that little softer heart. So maybe that they take easier to that, where the men are more achievement oriented and that blocks them. But at the same time, I think the women have to realize there's a difference here than what they usually do.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for the darshan.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yes. Lord. Hare Krishna. Amaham Bhajami. Vinam Bhavantam Arvindadaya Tacham. Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaranam. Kandapakoti Kamani Visheshasham. Govindam Adipusha. Govindam Adipusha. Govindam Adipusha. Ananda Chimaya Sadhu Adirahasya Govindam Adipusha. Govindam Adipusha. Govindam Adipusha. Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipusha. Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipusha. Namaham Bhajami. Govindam. Shirada Murlidhar ki jai, Chandra Bhagavan ki jai, Shirada Murlidhar ki jai, Shingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotion to service. I bow down to his lotus feet and pray all our prayers. That his grace comes across the ocean full of suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified from the waters and the from his lotus mouth. Attachment to the lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my dark eyes and fills my heart with confidence and love. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic remembrance, and by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Temple Room Ki Jai. Welcome to the Afterglow, dear devotees. Giri Govardhan Prabhu, thank you very much for the beautiful elaboration on the position of a servant. It's a very exalted position, very liberated. I remember my friend Rasanath Prabhu, his karmic employer told him, if you want to get promoted, and he was an investment banker, so he was told by his employer, if you want to get promoted, you need to do this and that, and you need to move to Connecticut and this and that. And he went to Radhanath Maharaj, to his guru, and he said, Radhanath Maharaj, they're making me move. I'll have to abandon my service and leave Shishirada Muladhar and the Bhakti Center in my service. I don't know what to do. I'm bound. And Radhanath Maharaj told him, if you are truly surrendered, Rasanath Prabhu, no one can tell you what to do. Right? And he shared that proudly. So being a servant doesn't mean being a doormat.
That's right.
Being a servant is a very exalted position. It's very liberating, right? It's very liberating, actually. It's counterintuitive, but it is that way, like Giri Govardhan Prabhu has explained.
You know who you're
Satisfying.
serving, first and foremost.
Who are you serving? Right. Servant of the servant million times removed. We serve Krishna, and we don't forget to serve the devotees and the Guru.
Well, those are so intimately connected with Krishna, and ultimately, and see, there's a difference also between serving and giving people what they want versus what they need. And so Krishna is the well-wisher of everything. The devotees are well-wishers of everyone. They're the servant of everyone, but sometimes we're in a position where we have to give them what they need rather than what they want. And so this was, yeah.
So if somebody comes up to you and says and tells you what to do, and it's not your spouse, and it's not your guru, it's not your fellow devotee, then you can give them what they need.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Don't go to Connecticut.
Exactly.
They need to understand that they're overreaching themselves. So it's
Exactly.
good to put some boundaries on them.
Yeah, give
Yeah,
them what they
you've served
need.
them. You've served them well by giving them a little bit of putting them in their place a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, true. It's all about who are you trying to please by doing a certain thing. Who are you trying to please?
Yeah.
The society? Forget it. There's no way you can possibly please everybody. That's a mediocre life if you try to please everybody. There's
Yeah.
always a person who is dissatisfied.
Then
So,
you're an enabler in that case, right? You
yeah.
enable everybody to do all the stuff. So that, yeah, we want what's best for everybody. That's the devotees. Yeah.
Gail.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just a couple things. One is, I'm happy that this Trinadapi verse has come up because, the way I understood you, the humility of that verse means that we recognize the disproportion between what we're giving and what we're getting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the lower than the straw in the street, no?
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you would make a connection, if there is one, between that verse and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami saying that he's lower than this worm in stool, because we've been saying that humility is not about low self-esteem, it's not about being inferior, like when you were talking to Karen, right? It's like
Right.
not these things. So how would you reconcile that with Krishnadas's?
It's the same thing as so we shouldn't be thinking that way because his is coming from a much deeper appreciation of who Krishna is, and he is feeling this is how he's incapable of reciprocating with Krishna in any meaningful way. The more that we know who Krishna is and appreciate what we're receiving from him, love is not, prema is not something that's able to be reciprocated. Even Krishna runs into that problem, particularly with the gopis, where he says, I can't repay you for this. So right now we should be humbled, at least to some degree. Okay, we're probably not lower than the blade of grass. But at least we should start to have some gratitude for what Krishna has done to us, not to feel that, hey, I must be special. Therefore, Krishna, appeared to me and he gave me the chance for bhakti. There must be something about me, and now I'm advancing. But we should think, wow, this is a gift. that Krishna came and it's causeless mercy. It's not because of anything. It's because only of his heart. And so how fortunate we are. So that should humble us, right? We may not, well, we're probably not able to go down to the grass yet, but at least, come down a little bit from the sky and start that way. And it's particularly just like we were saying that we know who we serve. These devotional qualities that are there are first and foremost to Krishna. So sometimes we think we have to be, completely passive to everyone, right? But no, it's first and foremost to Krishna.
Wait,
Right?
what does
These are
that mean?
devotional qualities. Like when we're
You said
humble, it's humble.
when you say it, you said something about it's what is first and foremost to Krishna and what is to
The
Krishna.
devotional qualities in any place, in the Shikshastam, they are first and foremost directed towards Krishna. That's why they're
Okay,
devotional qualities,
okay,
right? So it's not, so sometimes we think we have to be just like if we were humble, like, Rasanath, wasn't, he would have gone to Connecticut, right? Because we have to be, tolerant and humble towards everybody, right? Because, and so it goes to Connecticut when somebody says, do this, you do this. But no, it's first
hmm
and foremost towards Krishna. That's why they're devotional qualities, right?
hmm
And then as we see things connected with Krishna, that becomes more extended,
hmm
right? It becomes more extended. So it's, and that's connected, that humility are connected with understanding Krishna's grace. That's why this is that Krishna has done so much for us that we actually are indebted, right? So it's not like when we're doing service, it's not like Krishna gave us a means and now we're running with he tossed us the ball and now we're running with it. But no, we're trying either to connect with that grace or to a little bit reciprocate with it. That our service, it's not like we're building up a resume of greater and greater service that's going to earn us advancement, but rather we've already been given too much more grace than we can possibly deserve. We will never repay that. And so the advancement is the deepening appreciation. And so
Yeah.
with somebody who's in prema like Krishnadas Kaviraj, they see so intensely how the divide between what they have
hmm
received and what they feel that they've returned. And so they say,
hmm
I'm useless, I'm helpless like that. So it's not that we want to, we want to think of ourselves right now as, that would be, it would be actually pride for us to try to consider ourselves to be worms in stool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I really feel that way. I'm putting on devotional airs. I'm so advanced that I feel I'm a worm in stool, like Krishnadas
Yeah,
Kaviraj.
yeah,
So we don't want to go there. Just try to be a little bit grateful now. Okay, start with that.
yeah. Start with that, right?
Start with a little
That's
gratitude, then we can work on the worm and stool later.
yeah. For us, gratitude is our version of Roman stool.
Yeah, start where kind of start where we're at. We're pretty puffed up
Yeah,
right now. We're pretty full of
yeah,
ourselves, So if we want to start imitating that kind of stuff, Prabhupada talks about the difference between following in the footsteps and imitation, So that would be imitation. So
yeah.
it would be an act
Thank
of
you.
tremendous pride to think of ourselves as the worm and stool.
Yes, yes. I ironically.
For us, Giri Govardhan Prabhu.
Yeah, it's not good, man.
Prabhu, I don't know if I have opportunity to just switch gears for a moment or if somebody else wants to ask something.
I guess sounds like you've got the floor.
Okay, yeah, if I could just return to the brahmachari versus grihastha ashram thing.
Hmm.
I probably missed when you said how that shift was made from the emphasis being on everybody being grihastas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur to now everybody wanting to become brahmacharis to prove advancement, I think, or something like that. How did
Well,
that shift happen?
yeah, I mean, there was, I guess, at first, it was almost all grihastas, and Prabhupada was praising them. Like he sent, the three couples to England, and they opened, they started the temple in England, and so he was praising them and saying that he makes grihastas. His spiritual master made those things that made, sannyasis and brahmacharis, and he made grihastas. And so that was, people then saw grihasta is like the place to be, that was Prabhupada wanted. And then People, I said people have human failures, both brahmacharis, sannyasis, and and the
Mm-hmm.
grihastas. And so,
Mm-hmm.
marriages started to break up and other things started to happen. And so then, somehow, I don't know that I don't think Prabhupada really pushed that, but somehow it became like, hey, we started reading the things like this, like you're in the dark well of material existence and, not 100% dedicated in Krishna consciousness. And so then it became more desirable and like higher in the on the food chain. If you were renounced, you were more Krishna conscious then. And the failings of the householders were based on the fact that they were more in Maya. I think is probably what people were thinking. So just become more Krishna conscious, and of course, then we had problems with the renunciants doing some of the same things
Mm-hmm.
later, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but I think it was like that. That okay, let's bypass that because people are not as serious like that. They can't give as good a guidance and that kind of stuff. And it became a certain prestige, coming with that. Even came with certain. It was my spiritual master. He was a temple president in Philadelphia, and he said that the brahmacharis would have nothing. And some places they even shared clothes and stuff, but they had no possessions. And there was one poor brahmachari that wanted his own pair of kartals. And my future spiritual master, he told him, that he says, well, if you want your own kartals, you have to protect the wife. Like you couldn't have any personal possessions at all. And he said the guy managed to outmaneuver him by taking sannyas. He could have his own kartals if he was a sannyasi. Forget the. So yeah, anyway, there was more prestige on that, and of course, partially the prestige became some of the point, and so then sometimes people wouldn't do it. And Prabhupada mentioned, I mean, and there was the famous story of Madhudvisa Swami, who Prabhupada was the incarnation of Sankirtan, right? And he ended up getting married and he didn't tell Prabhupada about it, but he went and got married and didn't see Prabhupada for some time, and he was very anxious when he met him the next time. And
Dweja, you said Dweja Swami?
Madhudvisa, Madhudvisa
Madhudvisa.
Swami.
Uh-huh.
Prabhupada said he said he was like the incarnation of Sankirtan. He was, really, he was quite pleased with him. But then he was a sannyasi, and he quote, fell down and got married. And he was really nervous when he went to see Prabhupada for the first time because he didn't consult with Prabhupada when he did that. And
Mm-hmm.
Prabhupada asked him about his wife, not to
Right.
humiliate him, but he asked him
Yeah.
and he told him, Prabhupada told him the story of Gajendra, and he said, the elephant is very powerful, but he was fighting in the wrong environment. And so the crocodile
Mm-hmm.
overcame him. So he told him to carry on with his devotional service, in the proper environment. This is a better environment for you. So carry
Mm-hmm.
on your devotional service that way. So, Prabhupada didn't take it like it was a fall down and some terrible humiliation. He didn't say you're swallowing your own vomit, but he's okay. This is a situation more suitable to you you
Mm-hmm.
know and so that's what we have to understand. What is the circumstance that's most favorable to our service, and then we will be the best devotee we can be. if we
Yeah.
if we try
Right.
to imitate something higher, we're stagnating, and we're not really where we are, and we probably will regress from that at some point.
Even the Gita, right? It says one should not do another man's duty.
Exactly, precisely.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, you know, um, in a, I get the sense of of eating or swallowing your own vomit, but can you spell out the analogy a little bit for me?
Well, that's what it says, that the renunciant, right, was gave up all of these things as if they were distasteful and not and unpleasant.
Uh-huh.
And so now that you go
Uh-huh.
back to them, it's like,
Okay, okay,
now you
okay.
now you're enjoying those things that you rejected.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Contrary, seems so that's how they would put it that way.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Thank you so much for that.
Nitai Chand Prabhu, would you like to speak? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, for the wonderful discourse.
Hare Krishna.
Annabelle, Isaiah, Sage, and Sky. If you're still here, please. Yeah. Hold on, Ram. Don't grab it. Okay, I see Sundara.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Fast forward. You fast forward. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, dear devotees, dear juniors. Thank you very much. It's always refreshing to hear you chanting Ram.
No shoes. No, go inside the altar. Shoes. I'm gonna kill you.
Okay. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for your association. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees.